Welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast. I'm your host, Sam Kabert. I started this pod back in 2019 when I was taking my first steps on the path of remembering. And at the time, the tagline for the show was a journey of self-discovery. A year later, it became a journey of remembering. Yet what I know now is back then I was still seeking. And what I've come to know now is that it's the journey of seeking that brings us the silent, slow stillness of acceptance. And therein lies our own innate wisdom. It's my mission now to eradicate the glorification of hustle culture, as it was my drive in entrepreneurship that led to a greater whole, and that's because I was outsourcing my sovereignty rather than looking within. So let this be your invitation to take a deep breath in and remember that at any time we can shift our thoughts and our feelings to create the outer world in which we wish to live. Soul Seekers, it's time to grow. Let's go. All right, here we are again for another episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. Pretty sure, Ravinder, this one's going to be episode number 300. So that's a big one you're on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it might not be. We'll see in the editing, but welcome to the show, Ravinder. You and I have known each other. I was thinking about before we hit record. I was like, probably about 10 years, don't you think?
Yeah, about 10 years.
Yeah, give or take. So we worked on the Santa Clara Chamber of Commerce together on the board and back again with the Silicon Valley Chamber now, working with you guys. And it's a great community. I've known you, like we said, 10 years. And you own, 5 UPS stores now? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Cool. So for those that aren't familiar with you, I don't necessarily like to just put a resume on people, but let us know kind of in terms of mindfulness, who are you, what you're all about. You can include business or you could take business out of it. It doesn't really matter. But what we're targeting here is more of the mindfulness aspect,
Well, I am a work in progress, number one. Always, I'm the type of person that's trying to better myself, whether it's personal, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's business. I'm always looking for ways to improve and to get better. I've been owning UPS stores now for going on 20 years. 2026 will be officially 20 years owning UPS stores. So it's been a interesting journey. And you mentioned business and personal and mindful. For me, honestly, it all goes hand in hand, along with community, because those things are what's important to me. The business obviously feeds myself and my family and a lot of other people. The work I do in the community, I'd like to believe it makes a difference in youths and people that we try and help. And, mindfulness for your own sanity, dealing with it all, the journey of life is not always easy, and we have to have the right mindset to be able to cope with things and make good decisions.
I love that. Yeah, I really love how you start off with work in progress. I've probably heard my mom say that a million times over my upbringing, so that deeply resonates with me, and I agree with everything you said. And I think a lot of times people talk about work life and personal life, and I used to talk about this on stage. I was like, that doesn't exist. We're just living one life, unless you're a character in that show, that Apple show, Severance. Have you ever watched Severance?
No.
Do you know about it?
No.
It's pretty fascinating, actually, because basically some people in this show on Apple TV called Severance, they get a procedure done to their brain when they go to work where they know nothing about their personal life. And then in their quote unquote personal life, they know nothing about their quote unquote work life. So I'm like, that's the only way we have a personal life and a work life, to your point,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And frankly, most of my friends that I have in this time really comes from work and networking and meeting people. So it all goes hand in hand.
Totally. Now, talk with us a little bit about Marcus Aurelius. You've been telling me about his work, quite, a decent amount, just little sprinkles here and there. And I was like, oh, I looked into it a little bit, but like that's not something I've really gotten into much. So I'd love to hear from you, like what that's all about and how it helps you.
One, I'm not an expert on it. I'm a student. I started reading a book from Marcus Aurelius called Meditations, and Meditations is a Stoic ideology, and it kind of gets a bad rap as being unemotional, and honestly, that's not the case. It has more to do with empathy than anything, but controlling your emotions, how to deal with situations. One thing that I really practice in my day-to-day life is not always needing to have an opinion. When you met me 10 years ago, I probably had an opinion on everything. Whether it was asked for or not. And through reading the book, it kind of opened my eyes to, one, not needing an opinion on everything, and two, kind of keeping your mouth shut unless it's something really strong that you need to use your voice for, because the less you use it, the more forceful it is when you do use it. And then there's also this philosophy of life that comes from it called amor fati. And amor fati means love your life. And what that means is it's a journey. There's good, there's bad. Good things are going to happen to us. Bad things are going to happen to us. But it's all not necessarily as it appears at the time. And something that is terrible in your life, your worst moments, could end up being the best thing that ever happened to you, as was the case in my life. And sometimes the things that you think are amazing, that's going to change your life for the better, end up being exactly the opposite. So the point is to accept these things equally and to not be over emotional about it one way or the other, because we don't know how these things are going to play out. And, the fact of the matter is every journey comes to an end. And understanding that, we have a finite life on this earth, and making the most out of it day to day, and living your life as if you are going to die one day, and not taking it for granted. So, like I said, I'm still learning. That's what I've personally taken from it. And it's a powerful state of mind to deal with the day-to-day things that we feel or at one time felt was very important. And you realize that a lot of these things are meaningless, and it's not worth getting emotional or getting worked up. And, there's problems and solutions. And I'm going to say this one last thing. There's problems and there's solutions is the mindset. And if there's no solutions, there's nothing you can do about it. Why let it eat on your mind? Why let it live in your mind? Because worry causes stress. Stress makes you make bad decisions.
Yeah, that's super powerful. And the reason why I asked the question is because there's so many different approaches and lanes to our mental health, emotional health, mindfulness, whatever we want to call it. And there's a lot I got out of that. I think the listeners as well. And one thing I would love to unpack with you is the topic of emotions. But before we do, another thing that came through was talking about not having an opinion on things. Can you unpack that a little bit more?
So it seems like in this day and age, social media, everybody has an opinion about everything. And frankly, opinions rarely change other people's opinions. Uh, no matter no matter how much you want people to think like you, everybody's a unique individual and they're going to see things from their own paradigm. So that being said, there's certain things that just aren't important in life, like other people's business, how other people live their lives. Why do I need to have an opinion on that? Now, if it's my daughter or son, sure. But if it's you or anyone else, for that matter, if they ask my opinion, I will give it to them. But there's no need for me to clutter my own thoughts with opinions of other people when it has no bearing on my life, my success, or my path.
Yeah, I agreed with that. And it's funny how I have an opinion on that. That's kind of the paradox, if you will. But the opinion I have is agreeing with you on it. And it's just, I think many of us that get caught up in how other people are living their life, to your point, if it's not like a direct family member or something like that, even if it is, we could make the argument theirs because there's something with us within us that's getting triggered or it's highlighting and that's unresolved within us. And that's the whole basis of any projection, to be like, I don't want to look at my own stuff, so I'm going to focus on what's easier, what's right in front of me, outside of me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing I'll bring up too is it's not the same thing that you're talking about, but for whatever reason, it was what was coming through. And I think I first heard about it from Eckhart Tolle, The Power Now.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah. Eckhart Tolle in his book Power Now, I think it was that one, or maybe it was a lecture. He was talking about kind of how I want to say he used the word label, of like labeling what we're seeing, and the importance of bringing in curiosity. And for me, how that looks is kind of like, I live at the beach now, right, in Santa Cruz, and I love pelicans. To me, like when I see a pelican, it makes me think of dinosaurs, because that thing is like a straight pterodactyl. Like those things are gigantic, and it's so, even crows and squirrels and small things, right? But it's so easy to see that squirrel in your daily life and label as a squirrel and be like, oh, I know what that is, and move forward. Versus like, if you can just pause and be with the elements and look at that squirrel. I've had these weird interactions with squirrels where they just kind of like slow down and they notice that you are being with it, and it's just this whole moment of mindfulness within that, whereas most of us look at everything in our day. I know exactly what that is, register, move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a big help, big tool for me to help slow down, go from doing to being. So emotions, you mentioned emotions quite a bit, and I love that for so many reasons. I mean, you're a huge sports fan, you're a huge Niners fan, and I'm not going to say being a football fan or just a sports fan doesn't mean that you're like a toxic male. I'm just painting the picture of who you are. Like, you're one of your favorite days of the year, if I'm not mistaken, is opening day at the San Francisco 49ers.
My favorite day.
Yeah, that's what I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of probably like, curse words being used and alcohol and all this, right? Wouldn't you say more?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just painting the picture of like who you are, be like, oh, Ravinder's not just like this Zen guy. Like, I want to show the whole thing, because as a man, we are kind of told by society that it's not safe to feel our feelings and not talk about emotions. And I love how not just you being a sports fan, a man, a businessman, all of these different quote unquote labels and hats that you wear, like, you're not afraid to talk about emotions. Was that always the case, or what got you there, and why is that so important?
I mean, honestly, I'm a very emotional guy. When I talk about my family or something I really care about, I tend to get emotional and get teared up. I'm an empath, which is challenging at times because I feel other people's emotions very deeply. So I'm definitely not without emotion, and it would come out in other ways when I was younger. acting out violence, frankly, um, getting in trouble, things like that.
Masked by anger.
Anger.
It was masked by anger because, right when you say,
Exactly.
right. What took you to, that's so huge for all of us to hear that about like violence and fighting or rage, whatever it might be, and how underneath that a lot of times is hurt, it's sadness. Maybe for you is something different.
No, it was a tough time, childhood. So yeah, what you do as a immature child, frankly, is you don't understand your emotions and how to control them. So you act out, and anger is the easiest path.
What got you to a place, however deep you're feeling comfortable to share, of
Sure.
being like, I need to prioritize feeling safe in my body to feel what's coming up versus just unconsciously react and explode, you know?
There wasn't exactly a turning point. Um, I changed, I matured as I got older. Uh, but I think when I started meditating, when I got into this business and started expanding my thoughts and reading books,
Mm.
the first book that kind of set me on my journey, and shout out to Joe Szynski because he put me on this book, was Think and Grow Rich. And if you've ever read that book by Napoleon Hill, it's all about mindset and the subconscious mind. And that's when I kind of started dabbling into becoming a different person. And over time, I just kind of evolved into who I am today. And like I said in the beginning, still a long way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Think and Grow Rich is life-changing book. That book, I said for many years was my Bible. I remember my dad giving me Think and Grow Rich, I think on like CD or something when I was like 22 or 23, starting my first business. And listening to it from Chico, Northern California, on the drive down to San Diego. I was moving down there, and then I got the book, and for many years, just marked up that entire book, would come back to it every year. And it was funny getting into spirituality, being like, oh, I already know this stuff because this is what Napoleon Hill was talking about all along. Like, even the title, for anyone listening that's like considers themselves to be a little bit more of a spiritual person and might have a weird relationship with money, I want you to consider that Think and Grow Rich. Rich doesn't necessarily mean money. It means meaningful, like how chocolate is rich. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. It's about living a rich life, not necessarily tied to money. For some people, it looks like money. For other people like myself, I really seek out balance,
Mm.
between a good time, a bad time, work, money, family time. Because, like I said about the Stoic principles, we're all going to die. And there's nothing that you're taking with you monetarily, and all that's left when we're gone is people's remembrance of us and how they remember us and the times that we spent with
Mhm.
them.
Yeah, it's almost like I think it's Maya Angelou's quote, like, people don't remember what you did, like, and they remember how you made them feel, or something along those
Yeah.
lines. That's the gist of it, anyways. And I mean, that's an amazing quote, and I probably butchered it, but that what's coming for me as I say that is, I think in regard to this conversation around emotions, I think we also need to understand that someone doesn't make us feel a certain way. That is so wrong in our languaging of being like, well, what you did made me feel this way. We need to take accountability and ownership and look at what's coming up. And it's not what the other person did, it's what's coming up with within us. And to quote Gabor Mate, he's a trauma therapist and teaches many people in trauma, and this is just going deeper than basic emotions. But I love his explanation of trauma being that trauma isn't what happened to you, it's what happened inside you as a result of what happened. And I love that so much because it's just about accountability and ownership,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we talked about Think and Grow Rich. You mentioned the subconscious mind. I love the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind. What about NLP, neuro linguistic programming? Obviously, you knew about it from our mutual friend, Joe Szynski. Shout out to Joe, amazing business coach. And Joe
Absolutely.
utilizes NLP for years as well. But talk with us about your relationship with NLP, the unconscious mind, whatever's coming through.
So I've been hearing about NLP for years. Never, it was never kind of a priority to learn that. It was just one of those things that I figured was a technique of kind of reading people's body language, and that was pretty much the gist of it. I'm not very knowledgeable in it, and I know you are a practitioner. And of course, we're buddies, and we're kind of into some of the same stuff. And we went through a little exercise the other day that I thought was very helpful. I've been over here touching my knuckle, so
Anchoring states, yeah. Very cool. Yeah, same for me. For years, I heard about NLP, and I think I kind of looked at NLP, and I was always into personal development. I think very similar to you. When I started my business, I became like a personal development junkie, and that makes sense why. Like, I'm talking 10, 20 years ago. Well, 20 years ago for you, for me about 15 or whatever. It was a different climate in terms of getting into mindfulness and meditation. Now it's like it's just a course thing for business people. But back then, when I was first getting into business, and people would sometimes talk about meditation, but it was still like very much newer coming on the scene, I would say, to the masses. And now it seems it's much more of a standard. But anyways, where I'm going with this is I would see NLP, and for whatever reason in my mind, I was just like, nah, that's interesting, but that's not for me. I don't remember the exact story I had around it. And then in recent years, I started to get more and more interested in NLP, neuro linguistic programming. But you know what it is? You probably haven't heard this, and I don't think I've shared this on the podcast either. But there was a man, Mickey Magic, and he was actually in Carolyn Mace's book, Sacred Contracts, all about soul contracts. Super deep book. It's all about, hey, before we incarnate into this human form, like, we decide who we're incarnating with, and we have free will to play out this certain situations. But yes, we know there's going to be challenging situations with, say, our parents or our kids or our partner, and then we go through the quote unquote veil of forgetting when we incarnate. Now we have free will in terms of how we respond versus react and work through those quote unquote soul contracts. So I heard about this guy through the book, met him here in Santa Cruz, super deep spiritual guy, amazing story. And he goes to me, this was a few years ago, he goes, "You're trained in NLP, right?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Oh, you absolutely should be." I'm like, "Why?" Because at the time I was psychedelic integration, doing so many holistic therapies and modalities, breath work. And I'm like, NLP, isn't that going backwards? Isn't that just like business people? And kind of to your point, sensory acuity, rapport, reading body language. And he started telling me how much deeper it was. So that was really the moment for me where I was like, okay, I gotta at least check this NLP thing out. Kind of interesting, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you came to my 2-day training, some of the workshops, and we've talked about NLP. What, outside of anchoring this exercise from last week, what would you say are some of the other benefits that you've been seeing in learning more about NLP?
Well, I would say I don't know if what's NLP directly from what I've been learning from you. The breath work stuff definitely is a game changer in your mindset, particularly, where I try and be as far as controlling anger and any kind of anxiety and things like that. So that has been very helpful, because sometimes, like with the stoic thinking, it's not being emotional. It's coming in, accepting it, and letting it go as quickly as possible. And kind of the breath work going along with that really helps for that situation. And then we did the little exercise the other day. I can't remember the names of these things. I'm not always great with that. The anchoring, which over the last 4 days, I've actually been very productive. I don't know if subconsciously, it's been doing something, but every once in a while, when I start feeling like I'm gonna, start lagging on something, I just hit my little knuckle there, like, get back to it, man. Come on,
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. So, for those listening and aren't familiar with anchoring, a state is how you feel physiologically, what you're feeling, and like emotions and your thoughts, right? So, we did an exercise of going from procrastination to motivation, anchored in a state of motivation. So, when you're feeling like, oh, I'll do that later, I don't want to do that right now, what Ravinder's talking about is touching the knuckle to anchor that state of motivation to get up and do the thing. And this is used by athletes, it's used by all types of people in all types of different situations. We just did it in that example for procrastination to motivation. Well, I'd love to get into an exercise. I did this recently, as I told you, Ravinder, and for those that already heard it, with Janine Badro on, I believe it's going to be the most recent episode where we did an NLP technique, and it was just so much fun. I was like, okay, Ravinder, you want to come on the pod and we can do it? So, hey, it's Sam. Can I share something real quick that I think might actually help you? If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your emotions, like you're doing all the right things, yet you still feel off, it's not because you're broken. Most of us were never taught how to feel in a way that actually helps us heal. That's why I created Breath Club, a free community where I guide weekly breathwork sessions to help you regulate your nervous system, process emotions, and return to clarity. We use something called the 90-second reset, a simple, science-backed practice that shows how fast emotions shift when you allow yourself to feel them fully. You'll get access to live calls, a community, and on-demand breathwork exercises to reset anytime. No pressure, just an invitation to feel safe in your body again. Links in the show notes if you want to join us. Let's talk about the Swish Pattern. The Swish Pattern is probably most famous from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins really made NLP popular back in the day. These days, he doesn't really use the terminology NLP, and he kind of has an offshoot. But the idea of the Swish Pattern that we'll be doing here is going from one habit that's not really working for you to switch the neural pathways in the mind to now have better habits. And that's the neuroscience behind this, because on an unconscious level, like for me, I just had a buddy do this for me a few days ago, because I was like, man, it's getting dark around 5. I'm watching a lot of Warriors games. I haven't been watching sports much in the past 6 years, but now I'm hooked to pretty much watch every single Warriors game. And if it's like a game last night where they're playing at 5, then that means instead of walking out to sunset, I'm on the couch watching the game, and then next thing you know, it's dark. Then I'm feeling lazy, I'm overeating, and I'm watching shows or movies, and I'm just being lethargic. And I'm like, and that's carrying over in my next day. And I'm like, I gotta quit this. So for me, that's something I just did a Swish Pattern on, so that when the trigger, this outside stimulus, is it gets dark outside, the urge I was previously having to pull out my TV and sit on the couch, now instead what I am doing is sitting down my brand new electric drum set that I got for $400 on Black Friday, right? And playing drums instead. So that's an example of how I'm utilizing it. Does that give you some ideas on how you might want to utilize this exercise?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. For me, what we had kind of talked about was, um, drinking, and kind of getting into lately a nightly habit of, having a few drinks, and I've been on a health journey lately, and obviously alcohol doesn't help that. But then the alcohol leads to poor decisions in my diet, which leads to me sleeping later the next day, which leads to me not going to the gym, and on and on and on. Uh, so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Love that. And I'll ask you more questions as we go along. I'm just taking some notes because it helps to track it all. What would you like to? So, first, we have to get a picture. We'll do this exercise and we'll get like a picture of how you know it's time to drink. And what we'll do instead is get a new picture of what you would do instead. So, let's start with how you know it's time for you to start drinking. Like what would be that internal picture you would see?
Usually it's when the family is done for the night, and my wife goes to bed pretty early, and my son, and around 10:30 or so. Usually that's about the time
Could you see?
when all my stuff is done, and everybody's tucked away.
Mhm. It might be helpful to close your eyes. Feel free to do so if it is. But could you see yourself kind of like in that picture, seeing exactly what it is?
Yeah.
So what is? Where are you? What are you doing in that moment that you pull out the bottle?
I'm usually kicking back on my patio, scrolling through social media or YouTube or whatever, watching a movie.
Catching up on things, right?
Yeah. Wasting time.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like that's how scrolling happens, right? Like, oh, let me check in, and then we get distracted, see one thing, and then you go to the next, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you got a picture, you're on the patio, you're scrolling, maybe watching a movie, got a picture. That's awesome. What would you like to do instead?
Um, Reading a book. Um, one of my hobbies is sim racing. As you can see, my little rig in the background there. Um, doing more of that. Just something more productive than just wasting time.
Cool. Let's, for the sake of this exercise, make it as specific as possible. So let's choose one of those things. And for example, if it is a book, like what book would it be tonight or the next time this happens that you would be reading?
Tonight, tonight it would probably be. I'm in a book club that meets this week, so it'll probably be "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. To catch up on that.
All right. Is that what you would like to map it to? Can't Hurt Me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, this is going to be fun. Do you have any other questions? Anything I might have left out, or any questions for me?
No.
Cool. So this is almost like if we were to do a demo in a real person event, and at certain times I'm going to speak to the audience, just kind of explain to them what's happening. Sound good?
Sounds good.
I think that's helpful as well. All right. Well, you always want to establish a rapport. I think we've done that over the past 30 minutes or so, just here chatting. The first question I have for you, as I always have, is it all right for your unconscious mind for you to make this change today and for you to be aware of it consciously?
Yes.
Beautiful. Now, it might be helpful to close your eyes, and we just want to elicit, so bring about that old state, that old behavior of you out in the patio scrolling. I believe it's a bottle of tequila. Do you have that picture?
I do.
Now, how do you know it's time to go out to the patio and scroll and drink?
My day is done. The family is put to bed, and it's my time.
Perfect. Now, do me a favor, just with your eyes closed, go ahead now and just rewind and fast forward the movie. The picture that you're seeing in your mind of you going out to the patio, scrolling with a bottle of tequila, just go ahead and rewind and fast forward that movie until you find the exact trigger and feel the urge or the emotion to pull out the bottle. Let me know when you have that exact moment.
Okay.
Great. You can just save that picture for later. You can clear the screen. And you can open up your eyes. Perfect. Cool. That's just bringing about the one picture. So save that for later. Now you can close your eyes again, and we're going to get into the desired state and behavior of reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Now, for that, with your eyes closed, when you think of that, do you have a picture of instead pulling out the bottle, you would be reading this book?
Okay.
Beautiful. You can keep your eyes closed. And I want you to now just associate into the picture. And just so we're all on the same page here, associating means to see through your own eyes. And when we see through your own eyes, it's making it the most real for you. Disassociation, we see our body in the picture. So for now, go into that picture, into your body, and look through your own eyes. And let me know when you have it.
Okay.
Great. Now just adjust the brightness of the picture. You can turn it up, turn it down, whatever you need to do until the picture is the most intense and the most real for you. That's why we're being specific with this book. You can notice any sounds you might hear being outside, and you can make it a movie. Just continue to adjust all of your different senses to make it the most real. Good. Now, keeping all those changes, just go out of the picture so you're disassociating from it and that you are seeing your body in the picture. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Great. You can open up the eyes, clear the screen. Good so far?
Yep.
All right. How we're going to do this now, we have the two pictures. Basically, we're going to put one picture, the old picture, in the lower left, and then we're going to have, actually it's the opposite, the new picture in the lower left and the big picture in the front. It'll make more sense as we go through it together. But here we go. You can close your eyes, and you can bring up that old picture. So this is the one where you'd be out in the patio about to drink and doom scroll, all that. Bring up that old picture. Go into that picture so that you're fully associated looking through your own eyes. Good. Now, keeping the old picture up, take the new picture of you reading Can't Hurt Me and put that new picture in the lower left-hand corner, small and dark. And when I say swish, have the new picture explode big and bright on the screen, while at the same time the old picture rapidly shrinks into the lower left corner. This can happen as quickly as 1, 2, 3, swish. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, bring up the old picture, front and center, and the new picture bottom left, and the new picture is going to explode big and bright. So 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes. Close the eyes. Bring up the old picture and the new picture in the lower left. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes. close the eyes. Old picture, new picture, 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, clear the screen, close your eyes. Bring up the old picture again and the new picture in the lower left. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. Bring up the old picture and the new picture in 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes. There we go. Now you smell popcorn?
No.
You never know, you might. How do you feel about that old state, that old behavior? How is it different now?
I don't know.
You still see that old picture.
It's less clear.
Okay, let's knock it out all the way.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep doing 1, 2, 3, swish. It's the same thing. I'm going to go faster and faster. So remember, it's the old picture up big and bright, new picture bottom left, new picture explodes big on the screen. Okay, so close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes, close the eyes. 1, 2, 3, swish. Open up the eyes. Now, can you still bring about that old picture? Can you still see it?
No.
Yeah, fascinating, right?
No. Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. Now, I want you to close out your eyes. Ravinder and I have done some timeline therapy, which is just going into the future, going into your past. So I want you to imagine that you're just going out into the future, which if it would have happened in the past, you would have brought out that bottle and you would have doom scrolled, etc. What happens instead now?
Gonna read a book.
Perfect.
David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
I love it. Well, that's the swish pattern. So the real, obviously that is testing it right now. If you can no longer see it, that's part of it. And the other part is like, okay, in the future, no, I feel good about this. The real test comes tonight, tomorrow, whenever this actually happens. So I know you'll be texting me or reporting back.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. How'd you like that exercise?
It's interesting. Bringing up the pictures in your mind and then switching them and very quickly switching back and forth. It gave me a feeling. I can't necessarily describe it, but I know things in the brain work in ways that are like that sometimes. So I will definitely give you the feedback. 100%.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. Yeah, I mean, it's so fascinating because since 95% of our behavior and our thoughts and our feelings are unconscious, 95%. We're only 5% aware. On top of that, we're processing over 11 million bits of information at any given moment, only aware of 50 of those bits. We're constantly having these pictures, even if we don't realize it. And for anyone listening being like, well, if I close my eyes, I can't see anything. Hey, that's me. I understand where you're at. I think it's really important that we understand, for say you're an artist like a painter or maybe a cartoonist like my buddy Alex who did The Simpsons for so long or anything like that. Artists typically are able to see things very crystal clear, like high definition. I don't know about you, Ravinder, but at least for me, like it's been a journey to understanding of what it means to see something in my mind. And what can be helpful is just imagining getting out of bed in the morning and seeing yourself roll over in the bed and walking out. And if you drink coffee, going and make your coffee. A lot of us are like, okay, now I see a picture. It might be a little bit fuzzy, but I get what you mean. So these pictures are always happening unconsciously. So since we're able to intentionally and consciously get the exact picture of when the moment is, that's why we're able to build new neural pathways around it, to create a new image so that the unconscious behavior will be done differently moving forward next time. Hopefully I didn't use too many big words. I'm working on yeah.
I think for me, going back to Think and Grow Rich, that's one of the big principles of the book is envisioning yourself in the life that you want to be, and really spending daily, practicing it daily, visioning your life. And I have read the book many times, and I've done the workbook, and so I have had some practice using my imagination, and because that's really what it comes down to, and it is something that gets better the more you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where breath work comes in too. For people like me, or whatever, if it's hard to visualize, or if you have a very chatty mind, and like we're doing a technique like this, and you're already thinking, "What's the point of this?" or you're thinking about something else. That's where breath work comes in, because we can do breath work before doing this, which begins to turn off the thinking mind, the prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking mind of past, present, future. So we can get into the limbic system, which is the emotional body, which means to just get in our body. Well, the mind just takes a little bit of a backseat, a little nap, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. We've covered a lot of ground on this podcast, and I don't know, it's been awesome to reconnect with you over the past, it been several months, or obviously earlier this year we ran into each other, but I stepped away from the business community for at least 3 years, but it was kind of like 3 years fully stepped away, and then 3 years of kind of dipping my toes in the water. And now I'm getting back into the swing and the groove of things. So it's good to reconnect, especially on, we had some really good deep talks before, but I know personally for myself, I'm at a different place. So to connect on a deeper level,
Absolutely, and I'm also in a much different place, even though I'm still me. At the core, I still have my same values, and things that are important to me. That hasn't changed. I think just the way I go about things, and my mindset is a little bit different now.
100%. Love that. Love that. Well, cool. I will put a link to Ravinder stores in the show notes. So if you guys are in Silicon Valley, for those of you that are in Silicon Valley, you want to meet Ravinder or support his businesses, you can learn more about them. I hear in Mountain View, he has an amazing UPS store where you can conveniently get your grocery shopping done as well. So for those of you in the Mountain View area, definitely check out that store as well.
Thank you for the plug. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. This was fun. I'm sure we'll do it again another time. Thanks again.
Anytime, Sam. Good times.
Yeah.